Warning: the following video may have language that some viewers may find offensive, and others are already offended. Viewer discretion is advised, but not really. No animals were hurt in the making of this 4-hour feature film.
Thanks for joining me on the Full Monty here, a video podcast that we shoot right here in St. Thomas, Ontario. And we got a pretty special guest in here today. Despite the crappy weather that we had, we were talking about road conditions. And, you know, I say, it's not like it used to be when we were kids. This was nothing. I mean,
yeah,
we were marching to school in 10 feet of snow.
Right, absolutely. Uphill both ways.
Uphills and one boot. One shoe, and for me, I wore my sister's sundress every other month. So that was my hand-me-down. St. Thomas Chamber of Commerce, the CEO, Paul Jenkins, is in. Thanks, Paul.
Thanks so much.
Thanks for coming. So we're going to talk a little bit about Chamber of Commerce, what it is, what services you provide, why should we have a Chamber of Commerce, things like that. How do people get involved with Chamber of Commerce? So pretty important organization to have in town. And I attended the Business After 5 last night. It was the Christmas show at the Queso Station. I got to tell you, man, the caring people that run these businesses, you know, you see even big business, whatever, you see what they're doing in the community and stuff, but you never really get to meet the people.
Yeah, behind the scenes.
Behind it, right? And truly amazing. They really are. So we're going to start off, first of all, where were you born, and where'd you grow up, Paul?
Absolutely. Well, the easiest. I was born at the St. Thomas Elgin General Hospital, and honestly, I grew up about 200 meters north of here.
Oh, did you? Okay, up in the north
so
end here.
This is my neighborhood that I grew up in. You know, I walked past this when I went to the corner store, return my glass pop bottles for some penny candy.
I remember that.
But yeah, no, I just grew up right around the corner.
So you're a Locke school?
I walked past Locke School. I went for an afternoon. My dad was a substitute teaching that day, actually on a snow day, and they closed down the schools. But I went to Morrison, so right next.
Oh, did you? Okay,
yeah,
Morrison.
right next door. But I spent an afternoon at Locke's when my dad was teaching.
So as a kid growing up,
yeah,
how much trouble did you get in at Waterworks?
Oh my gosh, yeah. Well, I love Waterworks.
Spill it.
Yeah, no, you know what? Obviously, I had a great childhood. Not, you know, idyllic neighborhood was full of kids my age, and yeah, like I mean, whether you're riding your BMXs across kind of the north side, but Waterworks was the big park here on the north side of town.
Yeah.
Love going there. I mean, on a day like today, we'd be tobogganing out there as well, and just doing your best to avoid Kettle Creek.
Yeah, that's right.
Like, so in terms of the mayhem, I never got in.
Hey, we had that in Mitchell. We had a big hill on 23 highway as you're coming in from the south, and it was called Suicide Hill. Like that thing is probably 110 feet high and straight down, but at the bottom, Thames River.
Yeah, right. You got to stop.
We hit it a few times.
Yeah,
we were able to get out there, and I remember a couple of guys going through it and climbing out. But over the years, some did not make it, but. You know, hey, as a kid, that's what made it daring, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So, all right. So you grew up in this area. High school.
I went to St. Joe's.
St. Joe's.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. So, I mean, JK to grade 8 at W.S. Morrison.
So you were
at
a
that
Catholic
point.
baby going through all that.
Yeah. And at St. Joe's for 4 years. I mean, my old man taught, and then was eventually superintendent on the public school board, but. Me and my siblings all went to either Morrison or St. Rafe's for elementary school, and then on to St. Joe's.
So as you get up, let's get into what was your first job?
Oh my gosh, my first job.
Did you deliver papers?
Only, and again, like right around the corner from here, but only as a substitute for my neighbor who delivered the papers. So when she went away on vacation, I did that. I mean,
Times Journal?
Times Journal, yeah. I would have refereed soccer, one of my earlier jobs, but the one kind of notable one was 3M had a contract, I believe, with Employment Services Elgin, and they were packaging Band-Aids at the psychiatric hospital. So
Oh,
that
really?
was one of my kind of favorite.
How old
favorite
were you back then?
grade 10, so I don't know, like 14, 15,
Oh, really?
16.
Okay.
And it was just a temporary kind of contract thing, but
Yeah.
it was, we worked alongside patients.
That's unusual, though.
But a lot of my high school buddies or whatever, and it was a fun job and doing something, working the line in that little way.
So you got your foot in at the psychiatric house. So did you get the free coloring books that way?
No, no, not at all.
I won't go any further than that. So, so let's talk about how did you get involved with the Chamber of Commerce? How did that come up?
I moved, again, I grew up here, but I moved away from St. Thomas for, I don't know, 15, 16 years, lived in a number of places, and then about 11 years ago, had an opportunity to come home to lead the fundraising for the hospital campaign when we did the expansion of the hospital.
Right.
And as part of that, obviously, I needed to raise money, and I need to connect with people that had the capacity to make kind of, transformational tens or hundreds of $1,000 gifts. And as part of my business development and part of my fundraising process, I participate in the Chamber of Commerce's Business After Fives. So I tend to connect with that part of the community. And you go there to socialize, you go there to connect with your friends, you go there to build rapport. But I'd always kind of have in mind that how can I measure my success? I'm going to at least leave with 2 new business cards of people that I didn't necessarily know before that. So I was a regular attendee of events, even when I was in that role at the hospital foundation. We hosted a Business After 5 as well. I even eventually joined as a volunteer the Member Services Committee for the Chamber. So I was really involved with the organization in the first place. And then eventually, with great expansion of the hospital, that was complete. And I was just looking, it was awesome. I loved my time there. I loved the people I was surrounded with, the importance of what that job is. But I was just looking for a job that would keep me in the community, provide a slightly different challenge. And the opportunity came up with the retirement of the previous CEO to apply for this position. I got it, and have a look back. It's been almost 5 years.
So when you first were coming on, Bob was the CEO. At that
Bob
time,
Henderson.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay, so as you got on and applied for the CEO position, tell me then, for those that don't know, what is the Chamber of Commerce?
I think that's a great question, and I think sometimes even people in my position might struggle to succinctly answer it because it can manifest itself in a lot of ways. Ultimately, we're a member-driven organization. We're the voice of business, and we do a number of things. We build community. We create connections between businesses. We support business development. We promote our members. We celebrate our members. And in a lot of ways, because our bread and butter are small businesses, although we depend on the support of some of our larger enterprises, we try to give those businesses scale. So that could be anything from, hey, you're a mom and pop shop, or you're only a couple people. So, come to our Business After 5 last night. That can be your Christmas party for your staff. Come to our family skate on New Year's Eve with your kids. And so again, those kind of light moments that we try to provide. But I mean, with Chamber membership, it puts you in a position to save money through some of our affinity programs. So, employee benefits for your organization could be part of it. But so it really touches on a lot of things, and I think if you kind of roll it up into like what's kind of the most succinct message about it is we're trying to create, working together collaboratively, a community that's a great place to live, work, and play.
Right.
And if you maybe thought about the Chamber of Commerce and had any mind share maybe 20 years ago, you maybe think about like the old school kind of Republican perspective about businesses know all, they can solve all the problems, deregulate, don't tell me what to do, get out of our way. I mean, we support free enterprise, creativity, entrepreneurship. We believe that to a large extent, but it's kind of molded itself that we have a role as the Chamber to be the convener of the different groups here that support our economic vitality or support some of the social challenges that we have. That brings in and empowers nonprofits to raise money because we have not even nearly anymore. We have more than 600 members, and roughly 80 to 90 of those are nonprofits or charities.
Wow.
So we have a real large voice that's really representative of the business community.
I didn't think it was that high. Wow.
Yeah.
I noticed from the Business After 5 last night.
Yeah.
Well, I've attended many over
Yeah,
the
for
years,
sure.
but especially Christmas one. But one word that I would come up with the feeling of the group, of everybody, I would say family.
Yeah.
That's what it really came across as. It's not the dreaded family reunion that everybody just loves to go to.
Yeah.
It was so, everybody would talk to everybody.
Yeah.
And the networking is one great issue of it. I mean, the knowledge and the business side of it that you can get from networking after.
Sure.
I mean, all meetings, no matter what conventions, meetings you ever go to, all the deals and things are done afterwards. It's a social life. That's where the crap gets done. But that's what I found with this group. I mean, I've been a member of other communities too, where I just haven't seen that close knit, willing to help.
Yeah, and I think increasingly we have that reputation certainly within our network. I said last night as part of it too, like there is something special going on in St. Thomas.
Yeah.
I think we're all aware of that, like the incredible inputs into our economic vitality that's happening right now. I mean, right around the corner from here as well. Some of the special things we've done. Again, I mentioned this last night to reduce homelessness. So there's some really practical special things happening. Mm-hmm. But I do think what we're really successful with is creating that space for people to develop bonds and creating a space that's really, really welcoming. Doesn't matter the size of your business, doesn't mean the type of your business, how long you've been in business, whether maybe it's a nonprofit even. Mm-hmm. We want to have that space where you can come in and connect immediately. And it's easier to build a building in St. Thomas than a lot of other communities, but it's also with the Chamber of Commerce, it's easier to get involved in the community than it maybe is in other communities. And I would say that whether they're larger, whether they're smaller, we just build that space for those connections to happen.
Okay, so I am opening a new business somewhere in town.
For sure.
Or in the county, anywhere just around here,
100%.
right? St. Thomas District.
Yeah, and I mean, real quick, like we're St. Thomas, Central Elgin, Southold. We have member businesses in Elmer, Malahide, West Elgin, Dutton, Dunwich, London, and kind of everywhere, every place
I have
in
seen
between.
the Dutton, some of the promotion stuff that was coming up from Dutton, and I thought, wow, I didn't know we were all the way over there.
Yeah, there's a few businesses. They do some of their own work, and they're trying to really drive that, and I think that's incredible because we try to be everywhere and everything, and ultimately we're a small staff supporting a large member base. So if anybody else is kind of picking up doing work that benefits our community, we'll champion that and trumpet their success.
So I am, or my wife is going to start her own business. We live in Central Elgin, somewhere, let's just say south of Sparta.
All right.
Why should I have her or myself? Okay, we did touch a little bit about it.
Yeah.
Why should I join the chamber? I know there is, like we talked about, the networking and the camaraderie that everybody has, but you touched a little bit about some of the services that can be provided through the chamber. So on a business side, I want to promote my business, all this stuff. So what would be the number one thing you would say to somebody saying, hey, come on over and let's talk about what we can do for you?
I ultimately, especially if it's a small business, we're going to increase the scale and scope of what you're going to be able to accomplish. Okay. So again, if you're a small business and looking to develop your network, you're looking to do pure business development, and that's why you want that. It can be a transactional relationship with the chamber. We want things to be good for business.
Yeah.
So that would be one. Obviously, as we're growing as a community right now, and Tony, you must see that in terms of what you're doing and managing this apartment building, the growth of our community and population overall, the growth in diversity. So it's a way for certainly some of those newer businesses to get, to connect with the community. You might not be aware of all the different resources that we have to offer. So, the biggest thing, certainly if you're just starting out, would be to connect and to really establish some deeper connections. Those might be really, again, transactional connections that lead to sales of your goods or your services. But it might be also connections to other parts of our network where we partner, where we have that we can put you in touch with business coaches or people that can help you with your strategic plans.
Right.
So it's not necessarily a wraparound service, but there's all sorts of ways. And I will say, because we say this all the time, my board members certainly support me in this, you'll get out of your chamber membership what you put into it. So if you kind of, again, know what that is. And when I was at the Hospital Foundation, I wanted that. One, I wanted some socialization and chance to connect with friends. But I also, again, wanted that to serve a business development purpose. And that, quite honestly enough, that paid for my membership tenfold year over year. But I knew what I wanted out of that. So in other businesses, again, they might just simply be, you want what I want to be able to offer my employees benefits, and the best deal I can get on benefits is through the chamber plan. So they might sign up purely for that. Some of the larger businesses in town too might just do it because that's what a good corporate citizen does. They want a thriving business community, and I mean the majority of businesses are small businesses, the vast majority. And so, while they might not need the benefits, they might not need advocacy, and that's something really important that we do as well. They benefit from making sure that our smaller businesses have access to that.
Okay, right. So that's chamber is not just specifically for small business or medium.
No. I mean, like if you
really
get
large,
like doing your eye test around town, like press strand format.
Yeah.
Two of our largest employers, are part of the chamber network. The St. Thomas Elgin General Hospital, employs 1,000 people.
Yeah.
Also part of our network. So. We represent that and create that space. So we're all together, kind of building the community where we feel proud and want to raise a family, want to start a business, and want to invest.
So can you? I don't know what you have in the works right now, but can you give us a little glimpse in the future of anything exciting plans that are coming up for the chamber for, say, the upcoming year?
Yeah.
What kind of are you guys working on right now that really a lot of people don't know about, maybe, but
yeah,
it's
sure.
exciting.
I mean, again, we there's so much activity. We have our monthly networking events. We do specific other social events, just again to bring people together to build that sense of community. We do our annual Impact Awards. I mean, you were nominated last year.
Yeah,
you attended
yes,
that,
I was.
so that's coming up on April 25th.
Yep.
Really excited about that, again, to recognize and celebrate business excellence in our community. One of the things I'm really passionate about is championing the work that St. Thomas and Elgin County has done to reduce homelessness and support people, living in more crisis situations. So, again, I'm real passionate about making that connection between social issues, our business issues. So, last year we brought together basically all the leaders in the space that reduced homelessness in 2023 by 30% over a 7-month period.
Right.
And we want to showcase, one, I want to make sure that they know what the work they're doing here is impactful and is important to local businesses. But two, to establish St. Thomas as a leader in really progressively dealing with this issue and coming up with constructive, practical, empathetic ways to support people that are living precariously, living vulnerably, couch surfing, whatever that is. So, over the next year, we're going to be doing a little bit more work in that space. Not necessarily the boots on the ground being the Chamber of Commerce, but again, that catalyst, bringing people together, helping them tell that story, and not just to the benefit of a reputation, but of other communities who are similarly sized or larger, smaller, whatever it is, if they can benefit from the learnings about what we've done here as a community, and I can share that with my peers across the province through the Chamber Network, who then connect to their own municipal representatives, who then connect to their own nonprofit spaces to move the dial in their own communities. I think, quite honestly, that's about the most important thing we can do as a community, is to share our expertise, our success in that particular space, which I would argue is the most pressing issue facing every community in the province, potentially the entire country right now.
So I would take it then, like I've seen the predictions of population, by say 2050, we're looking at probably over 80,000. Like we're going to double.
Yeah.
I would presume then that the chamber would work closely with like the Economic Development Board, the people that are trying to bring in the big businesses here. You guys have a lot of like co-meetings and strategic planning between the different organizations in town, like to plan the future. So, we have Volkswagen plant.
Yeah.
How many, there's still a lot of debate on that one up and down. Is it going to open? Is it going to, what happens if it doesn't? Who do we sell the land to, or like the building and whatever? Say everything just goes as planned. It opens. We have all the spin-off plants.
For sure.
How many of those are going to come? We don't know. What else will it generate? We do want people to come. Population growth is always great. But again, you want the businesses to come too, right? So is it the EDC that does a lot of the selling to industry to try and get them here? And then is it your job then to sell what you can do once they're here? Then you sell that side of it on what we can offer, provide. How does that work?
Well, I mean, I think you've answered part of the question.
Yeah? Did I get it? I'm just guessing.
No, no, it's great. You want to know what? I mean, the other, again, I mentioned already the specialness of St. Thomas and Elgin County, but I think there's a real collaboration amongst the various partners that kind of play in that space. We have, we have an excellent relationship with economic development. We have an excellent relationship with the Elgin Business Resource Center. We have an excellent relationship with our downtown development board here in St. Thomas. And we all might kind of address the same issue, but we're really collaborative in the sense that, if the DDB or the downtown development board is doing something that benefits my members, that's quite honestly, that's just as good as if I was doing it. And if I can do something that would benefit the DDB's members or really help build a way for PowerCo, Volkswagen to be welcomed in the community, we'll fill that lane, and that will be appreciated as well with that. But yeah, ECDev, they would have been working strategically, one, to identify the opportunity to have land, serviceable land, ready in the first place, shovel ready. I think that was one of the key things that led to our success in securing, the largest investment in our community ever. And like the two real quick points, but one, this is about as most exciting an economic time in our community's history. I joke, again, grew up around here. It was 27,000 people the day I was born, 27,000 people the day I went away to university. It wasn't necessarily Mayberry, but each year after year, it looked a little bit the same. A little bit more snow than we had back then than we do now, but it was very static. And your dad probably worked at the Ford plant, and it was very expected, and it looked very similar versus now. We've fully recovered from the 2008 recession, the job losses that we've had, and we've really diversified what our local economy is from a manufacturing perspective, where it's not just heavy loaded into automotive. You can think about PowerCo being an automotive industry, but really it's battery storage.
Right.
It's energy storage, which is really exciting in the sense that we're creating our own industry, where St. Thomas is going to be part of creating that industry. And going to the other point, I think there's very little likelihood of PowerCo not continuing this investment. I've got full optimism that they are putting shovels in the ground. They're getting that site ready. And I just think it's tremendous. And touching on your point about growth, we grew 10% over the last census period. That was 2016 to 2021. All of that growth happened before the PowerCo announcement. That growth happened almost entirely before, people that might have moved here from the GTA or other parts of the province because of the pandemic. So I think you're going to see over the next census period growth that's at very least 10%, potentially closer to 20%. And we are growing into, if we were our own census metropolitan area, we're part of London's currently. We'd be, even currently, like if you about 75,000 people, because when you look at the city side, it says St. Thomas, 43,000 people, or depending on which one, maybe it says 42.
Yeah, I know.
Depending on which direction of the city you're coming into.
Yeah.
Realistically, today, that's probably our pure St. Thomas property population is probably closer to 50,000 people, but that doesn't include Centennial, Coulter, New Lyndhurst, Old Lyndhurst, Talbotville. And I live in Port Stanley, and by the time I feel like when I'm driving into work, by the time I feel like I left Port Stanley, I can see Union. By the time I feel like I've left Union on my way to work, I can see St. Thomas. So, we're part of a larger economic region. St. Thomas, London's roughly 600,000. Southwestern Ontario alone is 3.5 million. And we're right smack dab in the middle of it, smack dab with the most exciting industry that's kind of been invested here in a long while, with these huge investments. I mean, the future for St. Thomas is bright, and I think, as part of that and as part of the Chamber's role is how can we think as audaciously and ambitiously about what our community can be, what it can become, and in a lot of ways, that's welcoming the newcomers, welcoming the pure population growth, welcoming the diversity that's coming as well. And that goes back to my whole discussion about space. How do we create that space? How do we welcome people in the community, know they get involved? How do we reach them? I guess questions I'd love answers to myself. But I mean, if you're not excited to be involved in the city of St. Thomas, the county of Elgin right now, I'm not sure what time you're waiting for to really get involved, to be able to create this incredible future that we have available to us.
So I would take it then, do you have meetings with the city? So you have your councillors and you have the mayor, of course.
Yep.
So as they are planning and projecting the future, where
sure.
they want to go, now do they come to, or do you guys, do you all get together, just sit down and say, okay, here, the city says this is what we see or we want. You guys project what you can do, what you see, what you want. So does that happen? Does everybody sit down? Do you have monthly meetings? Is a kind of a biannual? How does that work? How do you all get together to see that one common vision?
I mean, there's so many different layers to that. Within, I am regularly meeting, mostly informally though, so you kind of have an ongoing conversation with salient and to the point, but with the mayor of St. Thomas, and the mayor of Central Elgin is my neighbor as well too. So it's really easy to have kind of these anecdotal conversations. What's happening here? Where are we trying to go with that? And that also just doesn't include the elected representatives. That breaks down into the staff that work for the city, for the county, for lower tier municipalities in Southold and Central Elgin. So Lisa Higgs, the C.E.O. of Southold, regularly in communication. Sean Dyke, obviously the head of EDC or Economic Development for the city of St. Thomas, regularly chatting with him. Carolyn Cron, who works for the county of Elgin in economic development and tourism as well too. There's kind of a constant dialogue, and I think that's the beauty. Obviously, there's an importance to sitting down and having set meetings and being like, hey, we're formally going to address this. But it's so easy to be in direct contact with people on a regular basis, whether again through at social events or, more practically, my office is directly below our member of provincial parliament. My office is a 50-meter indoor walk to our member of parliament. Mm-hmm. I'm a 300-meter walk to City Hall, so you can have these conversations where it's not like, okay, I'm only going to get that opportunity to speak to that person one time over the next month. We have these regular dialogues, and it's very easy to stay in touch. Now, that said, immediately before coming in here this morning, I was on workforce planning board call that was looking at and really considering, okay, if there's 3,500 direct jobs coming through PowerCo alone, to say nothing of the spin-off jobs, how are we preparing that? What are the labor force needs specific to that? So, I sit at those tables. There's all sorts of planning tables that we're part of. I'm part of the St. Thomas Elgin Local Immigration Partnership. I'm part of the youth council that's trying to bring in the Icelandic model of support to reduce, to empower youth to be more successful. I'm at the Coalition to End Poverty, all these different tables that kind of work. Again, why you hear and how does that connect to the bigger chamber cause? It's because I want a community that's a good place to live, work, and play.
Absolutely.
And all of those are kind of part of that. Yeah. But everyone's so accessible in St. Thomas and Elgin County. It's really easy. And again, I think that's a key differentiator. Okay. When I chat with some of my peers in other communities that wear the C.E.O. hat for their own chamber of commerce is, they're like, well, why is it so collaborative? I don't know what it is, because I wish I'd be able to say, actually, well, you need to do A, B, and C. Mm-hmm. But I think people care about the community. I think they're passionate about the community.
Oh, yeah.
And they're willing to kind of open the doors and say, yeah, you want what? Come on in. How can you help? How can we work together? What do you want to accomplish? That aligns? Great, let's go do it. Yeah. versus, oh no, that's not the way we've done it, or this is the way we've always done it, so this is the way we're always going to do it.
I've learned over the years, people that get very mad, or that I don't want to say attack others, but they're pretty passionate about certain things, right? And you think, man, you're pretty crude. But when you're very passionate about something, or you care a lot, sometimes it can affect people. I've dealt with that here too, that people that are trying to come back here, our rents are high. They're going higher, but that's everywhere. Market rents are, it's not, and I try to tell people that, that I see it all the time. Well, the greedy landlords and greedy that. I said, but do you understand the maintenance costs and the utility costs and all the other fees and the employee fees and everything else that these companies have to pay out to maintain these properties? I said, that all went up tremendously.
Yeah.
So I said, they're not just robbing people because they want to rob people. I see people that comment. One thing I can honestly tell you, and I've told this a lot on the camera, one thing that just ticks me off is when I hear that standard thing, oh, it's St. Thomas, oh, well, there you go. What else do you expect? It's, it's St. Thomas. That pisses me off. And I hate that.
Yeah, and you still see that, but I feel like those voices are either quieter or, I mean, they're unsupported by facts on the ground in terms of, being able to complain that, like, I mean, there's so much excellence that has come out of St. Thomas, and like I'm talking worldwide impressive, like not worldwide, world-beating, like impressive. Like, hey, you want to be an NHL Hockey Hall of Famer? You can come from St. Thomas. You want to be a Hollywood star? You can come from St. Thomas. Mentioned it last night again. We have the #1 ER wait times at 74 facilities in the province, and we've maintained that for a decade. That is excellence. That is excellence in a province of 17 million people. We have the single largest investment in manufacturing space, the 4th largest facility like it in the world, and that's happening in St. Thomas. So there's so much excellence, so much greatness that's actually happening here, and I think that's a lot more visible. And I would also say, if you're ever feeling down in the dumps about it, look at some of the new people moving here to the community and what they say about St. Thomas. Beautiful parks, welcoming people. It's not perfect. It's not Mayberry. There are jerks out there that might resent the change or might need to just kind of grapple with it. But they're super positive. Like, people are coming here being like, "Yeah, it's easy to get involved. Hey, my commute's so much less." And you mentioned at least rental prices, but I mean, a lot of these people are moving here because their houses, despite being really expensive still, are more affordable than where they're coming from.
Yeah, I was just going to say, especially the communities where they're coming from. And we do have some of them that say they have a quite a nice property. We'll just say Toronto.
Sure.
They sell it for $1.6 million, whatever. They come down here, they can buy a really nice, beautiful home from our people down here.
Yeah.
$700,000, and they can live quite well.
Right. Like, and they're going to get a fantastic home. I mean, get a Doug Terry home, and you're going to have one of the most environmentally friendly, produced, and sustainable houses that you can get, quite honestly, anywhere in North America. Like, again, we need to celebrate and recognize the excellence that we have and world-beating things that not only have we accomplished, but that we're growing into.
I had a great conversation with Jared Walpole last night.
Yeah.
And
heck of a singer, eh?
Oh, Jared.
No surprise there.
Yes. No, I know. Yeah, well, look at his brother, right?
Yeah.
Who knows? I said to Jared, we were talking about houses and building and all that stuff, and I said, the one thing I've always said, because we all know Jared he's quite the cook.
Yeah.
And he loves cook. He still works kind of in that restaurant business field. I said, if I was to ever build a house, I would build my house around a commercial dishwasher. And I said, if you've ever worked at a restaurant and you watch, they go in, they're out, like a minute, 20 seconds, done. Boom, everything. You can fire all your plates through, in 10 minutes, you have your whole complete dinner.
Yeah.
And I said, why do we not have these in our houses? Like a beautiful commercial, not these things we load up under the cabinet and they got to run for an hour and 50 minutes.
Yeah.
And then you have to unload them and whatever. But yeah, I said to Jerry, I would definitely build my house around that dishwasher if I could have a commercial thing. So anyway, chamber stuff. So much fun though.
Yeah.
All the stuff that you get.
I love what I do. I love what I do. I love the people I'm surrounded with. I love the group of volunteers that I get to collaborate with.
Your job is, I would say, very, 80, 90%. You were like public relations galore.
hey, pumping the
Like
tires
you
about
are
what.
selling whatever, like that is your
And selling
main,
St. Thomas, man.
yeah,
Elgin County,
yeah.
Central Elgin, Southwold, Port Stanley.
Without rubber boots. And yeah, rubber boots. That always reminds me of Mike Vecchio. Him and a
Mike
fella-
Vecchio,
Yeah.
an ex-chamber staffer right there, too.
Yeah, Mike is awesome.
Yeah, great guy.
He is so good. It's good. It was great to see him last night. So let's get into some challenges.
Yeah.
Okay, so what were some of the biggest challenges that you faced? And you were like, oh my God, like really? What am I going to, like, how did you overcome it?
I mean, the best anecdote to answer that question is I accepted the job for this role in January 2020.
Okay.
Gave roughly 2 months of notice to the hospital foundation. I'm moving over into this role. Really excited about it. So I had a little vacation banked up. I'm going to take 3 weeks off.
Nice.
You know when you're unemployed or whatever, but like you're
Yep.
they're like, well, enjoy that time, and then you can't because you want a job.
Yeah.
But I'm like, well, I left the job. I had some vacations. I'm still getting paid. 3 weeks off, starting another job, and then obviously a little thing called the pandemic hit
Right.
just as part of that. So, but we were all teed up. We were going to go.
Yep.
My whole family rented a place in Florida. We're going to go relive our childhood where we'd all hop in the minivan, drive 24 hours straight to Florida for the week. And, my one sister said, the only way we're not going is if the prime minister comes on and tells you not to go. And we were leaving Friday afternoon and at noon on that day. Not that we're listening to the prime minister directly. It's just a fun story. He comes on and says, don't leave the country right now. Which,
I
any
remember
case, connecting back to this, the first thing I did in my role as the chamber CEO was close my office on the first day on the job. So it was one, like I didn't even know if we had necessarily the equipment for my staff to work at home. Like we're not a big team, but I had to be able to make sure I had the equipment. Just a laptop in that particular case and a cell phone, so I could connect. To be able to do that. But it was really hard to kind of get established and being like, oh, hey, here's this vision I have for what the chamber can do for our community. Yeah. And then, not that became irrelevant, it was relevant, but it wasn't the question I was asking. The question at the very start of the pandemic certainly was, what's the most important thing I can be doing today to support my members? And I will say, again, I'll pump the tires about what we did. I mean, we were the first organization locally here that was summarizing and pushing out the most relevant, up-to-date information we could find broadly about the public health concerns of it, but more specifically about the supports that businesses have in the community, and we shared and pushed that out. The other challenges with that, we did some advocacy surrounding, greater equity between big box stores that were allowed to stay open versus mom and pop shops that were required to close, and we were a very squeaky wheel as part of that conversation, and I think I know one of your previous guests, Jeff Urick, a bit of a pain in the butt in his side with it, although he's just such a tremendous champion of what our business community. But it was really kind of challenging. What is our role? What are we doing at this particular time where businesses are shut down, businesses are suffering? What's their access?
We
to
had never
funding?
seen nothing like that.
No, I hope we don't again.
I know
too.
It was. But if we do,
yeah,
we are in a much better position of how we could roll out strategic planning because we've been through it.
I would hope so. I'm not necessarily as fully
no
committed to believe
we don't
that,
ever
but
want to see it again.
I'd like to think that and I think it would change things. I think there was certainly in the earliest days of the pandemic, it was really kumbaya, it was really harmonious. It was quite honestly, if you look back, it was a beautiful thing. I'm not saying that you want to go back and do that again. And then it got a bit more acrimonious as things changed, as information maybe shifted, as people came out of the woodwork with different ideas about what should be happening. Whether it's in terms of the uptick of vaccines or we tried to kind of wade away for some of those conversations, but at the same point, we distributed close to 120,000 COVID rapid tests to our member businesses, and we tried to again support them in a way that would not be obtuse to the public health concerns, but would allow them to at least have a chance to succeed. But it was difficult at the time for a lot of our small businesses, and the repercussions of it. It's certainly not. It might be in the rearview mirror from an everyday perspective, but the legacy of that, paying back CEBA loans that some of our small businesses have, it's real and it's today. So but that was really really challenging to figure out what's our lane, what's our role, what can we do, and how
The
can we
future
support our business.
generations that will look at how we grew up, and we look back to previous plagues that wiped out, hundreds and thousands of people.
Yeah.
And think of the population in 150 years from now that will be looking back in their history books at what we dealt with and how it changed our lives at that time. Who knows what technology and future is going to be back,
Right.
then.
Well, who knows what's going to be like tomorrow? I mean, the way that the speed's changing, and I think that's the other thing that's happened over the last year is, this is just my armchair sort of science thing, and I've got an arts degree, so that's not you're not necessarily someone you can trust. But I don't think we're physiologically as humans, as equipped as we need to be to deal with the rapidity of the change that's happening, the developments from. You think about AI a year and a half ago, and then we're not talking think about it a decade ago. Think about it a year ago, and you'd be like, oh, do this, and the person would have an extra arm in the video or whatever. Now you could be like, make me a movie.
Yeah, I know. It's crazy.
And it would be legit. Now there's all sorts of other concerns and thoughts about AI, but that's not my point. My point is that there's a speed of change happening right now. And change is unsettling. It's always going to be. It doesn't matter who you are,
change can
where
be
you
scary.
are. And the challenge now is the speed of change, and what does that mean? And I think if we can get in front of it, and I think that's all it is, right? Like with the growth of our community, what can I do? There's a tsunami of change that's going to happen. I'm just going to try to get in front of it and maybe direct it down the right canals that honors what made St. Thomas a great place to grow up, but also provides space for it to grow into a more cosmopolitan, more important, more relevant community within the Ontario context and then Canada overall.
Cool. Now, there's one thing, it just kind of popped in my head as we were talking. And here, let me just take this off for a little bit, so I don't need to listen to the high stuff in there anymore. So, oh yeah, it is. So how when we grew up, we always heard about history will repeat itself, right? There's a lot, especially the other one. If you don't learn your past, you're always bound to repeat it,
for
right?
Sure.
But there are certain things and trends and clothing, whatever that, say we grew up in the 70s, 60s, 70s and up, and you see them coming back. Do you see that in business where we have some small business that are trying to bring back that old style of welcoming the business tactics of how, I remember as a little guy in Mitchell walking with my parents down Main Street, Mitchell.
Okay.
And we used to park there, and we didn't have box stores back then, right? It was all individual stores. Stedman's was our big one that we used to go to. But just the model, you walked in, it was just like the old time people. The greetings, the families, like everybody knew everybody. Is that do you see that coming back more today instead of you get populations that grow and they get like city temperaments? I don't really see that here. I see it trying to stay friendly, local, welcoming.
Yeah, if I understand the kind of what you're maybe getting at.
Yeah, do you see it coming back from the past? That kind of trend. So we're growing, we're getting more businesses. We want them to come, but we want them to be the old-fashioned style.
Well, I mean, everyone's nostalgic for their youth, right?
Yeah,
and it's funny where I'm seeing retread about it's almost like I grew up, my most formative memories say the mid 80s to the mid 90s in terms of my childhood. I was kind of last generation to live without the internet, and you see some kind of
you're the same as me. Exactly.
Those trends coming back. You also you see some in multiple industries. You see kind of a return to the roots, the grassroots of it, or people kind of discover being like, oh, this is what it is today, but this is what it was. And I think craft beer, for example, is a real good one where, I mean, Labatt, good family-owned company for so many years, and my grandfather worked there, my great-grandfather worked there as well too.
I couldn't drink it. I couldn't drink it.
Hey, Labatt 50, delicious beverage. But as that grew and it became, they weren't like, the owners of the Blue Jays anymore, and they were owned by this big, monolithic conglomerate, which is cool. Do your thing. You had a return being like, actually, no, we're going to do this from a craft basis. We're really going to get down to the nuts and bolts of what that is, as a drink or as a socialization. So you see it there. You see, and I think increasingly growing, like, from an agritourism perspective, Common Ground Farm, for example, really going in, and we're going to do really localized specialty crops that we're actually going to be able to provide. And it's not just the actual service or the product that's being sold, but I think there is kind of a little bit of an old school tilt to customer service, or being able to be, welcome, go into a space and everyone's like, hey, Norm, you get that. Again, I think it's about the size of the community, but it's not just about the size of the community. It also has to do with kind of the culture that we've built. So I think that kind of old school ethos is alive and well. And you want that to continue. You want that to be part of the future of St. Thomas. Sure, we can get in, say by the time we're 6 feet under, we're 100,000 people. Say in 200 years, it's not inconceivable that St. Thomas could be 2 million, 3 million people. I mean, Toronto's what, 7 million? Not even the GTA, like Greater Toronto. You do the GTA, including, all the way down to Buffalo even, it's 12 million people. So, there's going to be this great change happening, but you want, with that change, can you maintain some of the great things, that those easy connections, that ability to get involved, that ability to be connected, that ability to have a voice and shape what your community is? And I think that's always what we lean on and what we're really successful at here locally.
So we're going to wrap up.
Okay.
Last couple of minutes here. So anybody coming in and they want more information about the chamber,
stthomaschamber.om.ca. You don't even need the .on. stthomaschamber.ca. Get you all the contact information, easy way to register. But if not, give our office a call. Show up at our office. We're located in the Queso station.
Yep.
We take down as many / every barrier that we can to allow people to get involved. Whether they're new, you can come check out, an event or two for free at the start to make sure it's the right fit for you. It's not a huge cost to be involved with the Chamber of Commerce, but there is some.
Yeah. And does is the fee goes by, is it your business category or number of employees?
No, just number of employees.
So number of employees.
Right?
Okay.
So everywhere from a retiree all the way up to, again, you think about Prestran and Format with the larger employee base. I mean, they're combined probably roughly 3,000 employees right now. Yeah. So they would, be on the higher scale, but it's scaled to the size of your business.
Oh, absolutely.
And again, we'll do everything we can to make it work. If you want to be involved and you can provide value as a member to our other members.
What about people that are already members in there, but they think, so when do you do board meetings? Like, how do you do elections to your board? Like for that, is that a yearly thing that comes up, or is it a biannual?
We just did it last week. So we invite people, our board members are all members of the organization. They have to be. That's obviously part of the model. But we invite. I think we had it out for 4 months in our member emails out to our businesses, our green mails as we call them, inviting being, if you're interested in serving on the board of directors, please let us know, reach out. And I mean, we're looking for a number of things, diversity of industry, age, gender, different communities you might belong to as well. Obviously, we want to make sure we've got downtown businesses represented. We want to make sure we have industry represented. We want to make sure we have the talent around the table that can, provide good governance, and then really empower me to be kind of a representative voice, so I can be like, well, I don't have to talk to all 600 of my members, which can be very difficult. But I can talk to 15, 16 of them who give me a real good slice of what's going on here, what's going on in the insurance, financial services, what's going on in home building, what's going on with the social issues that we've so successfully addressed, what's going on in industry, how are we doing in terms of employment? You're a small business, how's it going to pay back your CEBA loan? So we gather that input on a monthly basis through our board of directors.
Right on. So now you're going to have some downtime. You got the family?
I hope so.
Okay. You got what is in this area? St. Thomas, Port Stanley, Sparta, whatever. Where do you guys go for just a relaxing night? Just take it easy. what is on Paul's journey?
Oh my
to do
gosh, that's a great question.
Yeah.
I'm not sure I have a quick answer to that. I mean, I live in Port Stanley, which is like already being somewhere in the first place. It's really lovely
Yeah.
there. It's
Beautiful down there.
especially at this time of year when it's really quiet. Got a pupper that we like to take out on walks. So whether we hit up Fingal or Coroner's Corner or even some of the pass around Hawks Cliff, being able to be part of nature is super important as well. For my birthday, I will tell you one of my favorite things that I've done this past fall. We went, a whole bunch of friends and myself went to Size in Elmer to do some 5-pin bowling, and it was absolutely fantastic. But we have a number, we've lived in a number of places around the world and have guests that come in and visit us all the time. So Menomex in Elmer is often on our trail of places to go. Great Lakes Farms, being able to Wildflowers Farm. There's just a lot of ways and easy ways to connect with different cultures and nature around here that I find is really appreciated by our friends and family who visit.
We got some amazing spots around.
This
area.
Man,
Amazing.
we're lucky. It might have taken me to leave to figure that out, but it's special, and the people are special around here.
Here's what just popped in my head. So a special one for you. Did you ever hear about the Bigfoot story in St. Thomas?
No.
Do you know how many people don't know about this? But if you go on Google and you search Bigfoot St. Thomas, there's actually a group through the University of Michigan that came here. I can't think of it off the top of my head how many years ago. It was on past Sunset, the elevator park.
Okay.
The Fingal Trail runs out there. That's where Bigfoot was sighted. They came and did a whole investigation.
No,
here.
I had never heard of that.
I was doing some research stuff quite a while ago back in my Rogers days, and that was one of the things that had popped up on Owen County and Bigfoot. So as Bubbles, me and Mike laughed about that. Bubbles with the Sam Squanch. That was kind of okay. Rapid fire. All right, so here we go. Coffee, tea.
Coffee.
Oh, coffee. Okay. Morning person? Are you a night owl or you a morning?
I am neither. I like my mornings enough. I'm not up too early. I'm not up too late either way. But I guess if you had to push it, a night person versus a morning person.
Okay. And what's your favorite TV show? We all know what's the biggest show right now, but
oh my gosh,
what is your favorite TV
show?
Like you obviously have a lot of time to watch TV, don't you?
The greatest television show that's ever been on. One is Wonder Years, but that's going way back.
Oh yeah.
One of my favorite shows right now. I love Shoresy.
I never even heard of it.
Shoresy. It's a Canadian show. Do you know Letterkenny?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So one of the main characters in Letterkenny is part of Shoresy. It's about a junior A hockey team up in Sudbury, and it's hilarious. I forced my Irish brother-in-law to watch it the other day. He's like, I have no idea what's going on, but it's very, very Canadian.
Really? Okay. I was
highly recommended.
You know the show I was waiting to hear, Yellowstone.
No,
I thought that was going to be. Everybody right now is just Yellowstone.
I've never watched Yellowstone.
You haven't?
I haven't.
Oh my God!
I know. There's a whole bunch of those ones like people are like, well, you've watched this before. You've gotten into this. I've done that too.
Right from season 1, when I first saw the things come out about it, I thought, oh, well, we'll check it out.
Yeah.
The moment it started, I was there.
I've heard great things. Hey, I think the show I watched last night when I got back home was an episode of the Antiques Roadshow.
Oh yeah, even that show is pretty good. So, all right, Paul, thanks, man. Thanks for coming in.
Really appreciate having me.
You know, we just blew 55 minutes.
There we go.
How fast that goes. Eh? So, that's awesome. So, okay, Chamber of Commerce. So, I hope you got some information out about that. They are fantastic people. They really are. Give them a call. You need some business information. You want to join them. The resources. Find out more about them. Services they offers, and also what you can offer them. Everybody, it's not a one-side venture,
It's because of members like you, though. That's exactly it. You're providing that value to our members just as much as the Chamber is. Again, we're just creating that space, man.
Right on. There you go. Paul Jenkins, CEO of St. Thomas Chamber of Commerce. Thanks for tuning in to Full Monty. We hope you tell your friends and everybody. Keep watching, and we'll see who our next guest is. Take care, everybody. Bye. Done. There we go. There is another fun little episode.